Um, your turn. No, it was just due this past Sunday. Oh. Okay, okay. Same. Yes. I might the old from the previous address. I said as old. Okay. Micro methods. Oh, there's a video here. 7 minutes. If you want to explain something.
Hello, everybody. I was talking about this term project part 3 with my other assessment class and realized that this would probably be a good time to give a little clarification on what I am looking for in term project part 3. Seen the memo that I already sent out that the rubrics are part of part 4, so we're going to leave that largely to talk about later. But in this case, we're talking about part 3, which comes in two sections. There is this documentation of the test specification, which is kind of a general document and decide what it is that you're going to be testing and how. And then the second section is actually development of the actual assessment plan items, several different things. So let's talk about first. Section 1, documented the test specifications is covered in the textbook chapter 3. Here's the second edition, which I think it's on pages 59 to 60. If you're in the third edition, it's 1. So, but take these first descriptions of the content of the assessment. What do you want to be assessed? And the second one, which kind of blends that you're actually going to be using. This could be methods and question types. You know, we've already said this is alternative assessment down here, and we know that it's not going to be just paper and pencil tests. But if you're going to be doing interviews, if you're going to be doing group role plays or group discussions that you're going to be observing, you're probably going to be putting something in here that talks about those things. Your interview, what kinds of questions you're going to ask, methods. If you're doing observations, What kinds of things are you going to be looking for? And then take the next step and define the tasks. At a simple level, high level, define the tasks that will be included in those assessment items. Then, as you've gotten into the chapters on assessing listening, speaking, and reading, and you will be hitting writing shortly, you've probably seen the micro and macro skills that are addressed in there. They kind of talk about what are the things that we're really assessing as we assess these different areas. And so if you are dealing with listening, for instance, are there some of the micro and macro skills that you're going to be assessing? If it's reading, what micro and macro skills are really being focused upon? The same thing happens with reading and writing. Look through those lists. And this is a good time for me to reiterate from yesterday's email that said, if you're going to be doing writing, you may have to look ahead into the assessing writing chapter, looking at it earlier than it's actually assigned for reading. It'll give you some ideas on how you might go about assessing writing. Now, define how the test is going to be scored. And I should have said the word assessment there because we're not doing tests, but this is at a macro level. So you might say, I'm going to be using a checklist, or I'm going to be using a rubric. Neither of those need to really be defined yet. We can actually save most of that into project part 4. But at a macro level, how are you going to go about actually measuring or assessing your students and how well they're meeting your objectives? And then finally, how and if you're going to report these results to your students. I had a lot of students in the other class who have preschool students, and their feedback is not going to be particularly specific on how they did on this question or that question, but how they use correction and how they use positive feedback for a job well done. So looking at section 1, documenting the test specifications, keep in mind that this is your planning process. And as you document and define these things, you're probably only going to have a couple of paragraphs just to show me that you've actually thought your way through each one of these things as you build the assessment. Now, when you get into the assessment itself, now we need to actually develop and document the actual assessment items. If you're going to have an interview, what are the kinds of questions that you're going to be asking? If you are beginning to think about listening and speaking, what are the things that you're going to be dealing with in there? The things that they need to be able to use. Some people will have specific vocabulary that they want to see. But this is basically the actual assessment item, a description of exactly how you're going to assess the students, short of actually putting together a rubric. Rubric we'll put in for next time. But what is your assessment items? And part of that may also be not only the explanation for the assessor, who might not be you, but how you're going to assess it, and then also develop the student instructions for the assessment items or item. Okay, so step 1 in chapter 3 is going through this thing and planning out your assessment. Don't just sit down and scribble it out. I need to see that you've actually thought your way through these items. What are you going to be assessing, and what types of assessment items will you be using? Define the tasks that you're going to assess. Define whatever micro and macro skills may actually be being assessed in here, and define how the test will be scored, and if you're going to share results and how you're going to share results with students. Okay. In the second part, actually develop the assessments. What are the things that you're going to actually give the student? Okay, I hope that helps. And as always, I'm always here to help. If you don't understand, please give me a call.
All right, pretty straightforward. Was there anything in there that you didn't understand? Or you think, like what exactly you were there for? So first, I think we should go through pages 63 and 64, see what he had to say about those. Structure. About the skills, the abilities are going to be assessed, right? So like if a student is going to therapy every week, we want to talk about basically how their behavior is improving, how they're socializing with other people, how their schoolwork is improving. So we need to make sure that their socialization skills is good, their ability to turn in assignments is good, the focus on the assignment is good, things like that. Like the tasks, we can talk about like when their student is writing in the journal, we can talk about like the goals, like maybe to write like maybe a short paragraph or something, explaining like how they feel, and then detailing it out in a way that helps their vocabulary too. And you have to explain how we're going to score it. To be an assessment, basically on a rank scale of a thing. It wouldn't be the same. Okay, we can bring up the IEP too, how it's needed for progress too. So for this part, document test assessment certification and an outline. Okay, so we're going to be having descriptions of the content of the assessment, define the types of the assessment items, and then define the tests that'll be included in assessment items. So for the first one, okay. So part one, this is just the outline, right? So descriptions of the content of the assessments. Okay. So we can say the first part would be interviews, right? You have to have spoken interviews with the parent and with the child separately. We're together.
Yeah.
So it needs to be, the, parent and child separately. And you say the woman's parent, the therapist asks the parent what's going on, why they're bringing the child to therapy. And what the issues are. Maybe in the interview with the child, they just bring up like open-ended questions.
Yeah.
The line of questioning is different than that with parents. You can also say that with the interviews, there's like listening and speaking going on.
Yeah.
Okay. So like for listening, there could be like a relaxed body posture, right?
Mhm.
Active listening, like things like affirmation, like nodding along, so if you're listening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, for speaking, you can say that it changed their tone, maybe some of the vocabulary they use
Mhm.
to talk to the child versus the adult. Like sound appropriate language. Simple terms. Nothing too complex, right? Find the types of assessment items for the methods and question types. Okay, so for this part, methods, this will be like a couple of those surveys, right? You said
Mhm.
we're gonna have those assessment surveys.
Mhm.
Okay, so the mental health assessments. Maybe we could have the therapist have the student do some free writing and just write down whatever comes to mind that day.
Yeah.
First visit, because then they can get an idea of how they're thinking.
Mhm.
If there's anything going on that is hidden in the
Mhm.
message. I think it's probably good to know them too.
Mhm.
Okay. With the interview, to be more specific, we can say, if the parent is more complex, right?
Mhm.
Maybe more questions. Longer talk, maybe. And include that empathy and active listening again. That's good for question types. You can say like how long have these issues been going on? What would you consider to be issues? What needs to be worked on most? Things like that. What kind of progress are you hoping for your child to make? What goals or progress? And these are all for the parent, okay? Those are the parent's questions. And then for the student, say, maybe, so you're having trouble talking to making friends, or like basically it's asking, yeah. Or are you enjoying school? What about hanging out with friends, right? We can also say, how are you and your family getting along? See if there's any issues going on with the family. And then like the feelings about depression, you could say, what kind of thoughts are you having? And you can ask, like, are you having happy or sad thoughts? Things like that. That's like a basic idea of how to use it. Okay, so that was this bullet point here. Now we got to define the tasks that we included in those assessment items. Okay. So, like if you mentioned the assessment items, I think we said interview, right? Interview, checklist. What else do we say? The group discussions, or group therapy. And the IEP. So now we have to talk about what was going to be included in that. Okay. So for the interviews, what do you think we're going to have to put in those?
What you mean?
So like, what do you think we would have to use to talk about interviews, like what kind of tasks do you think would happen in interviews? Probably just like talking, right?
Yeah, and then maybe what the one person has a notepad with a pen.
Yeah.
Answers.
So maybe some taking notes.
Mhm.
Okay. You could say like this is taking notes. You could say your parents speaking, right?
Yeah.
So that's a bit easier. You could say there'd be a lot of listening going on.
Yeah.
Listening, without interruption. Because sometimes there's an interruption. And then people can close off, right? Now we got the checklist. What kind of things do you think should be included on a checklist for tasks or someone to do? If they're suffering with depression, if they have trouble with school, talk to people,
Like,
like maybe first thing could be going to school, right?
oh, like those kind of checklists.
Yeah. I think then there'd be like a little box that you have to check whether to get in or not. You could say talking to a classmate, right?
Yeah.
Finishing an assignment. Maybe like writing in the journal. Like spending an hour with a family member, right?
Mhm.
I think these would all be things that they want the students to accomplish.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what else. For the group therapy, maybe just be like everyone being present. Maybe some free talk exercises.
I think in those sessions it's different every week.
Yeah, they talk about something new every year. Yeah. Or like what do you call them? Task-oriented sessions where they have them talk about specific topics. And then they break it up. They sometimes they're just like, hey, so I read about this. What do you think about this? Or today we're going to talk about this, and then they go into that. Like partners or rankings, like in order to talk. So I think it's like their discussions, they're stuff about like speaking and listening, uh, vocabulary improvement, taking care of um, I do that. So there need to be like specific issues listed. If there's trouble with reading or writing. Maybe completing assignments. maybe they missed too much school. Like that. Should be like understanding the assignments. So every day you can get trying to moderate curriculum. I do the moderate. Basically, like you don't change it. for students. Like my brother, he needs special ed for a lot of classes. He's struggling. A lot. Okay, micro and macro skills. Have you heard of those before?
No, I'm not. Did you see it in the thing?
Yeah. So, micro means at a small level, and macro means on a bigger level, right?
Mm.
So, like, micro can include like family life, friends, people that the child knows. Whereas on a macro level, it's like probably like the whole city or state or you know, country, things like that. But because when we're talking about like, you know, a single child with depression, it's like we won't really need too much of macro. But what we could say about it is that macro is good for like just socializing in general. Um, socializing at a bigger level, like maybe speaking out in class. The micro skills you would get from that are just like better family relations. Friendships. And at the state level, there could be some maybe like mental health programs. Fine. Okay, so that we could talk about in therapy would be called like rating scales, right? They would rate things Oh, no. Self-report question. Okay, definitely. Self-report question. Maybe the parent will fill that out though, right? Student will do it. They have to say student will need to but the student's gonna have to have, you know, like a certain amount of things that are checked off before they get considered to be diagnosed or considered to be a disability problem. So you can say you get on those scores, right?
Yes.
Okay. What? Problem, issue, or condition. That's how it's scored. Okay, we did that. How if results were being reported to students. So you could say probably a lot less for students. What's the parents? But for students, we can say that there will be some, like they'll have to be told, like you're gonna have to work on this, or maybe you
Yeah.
can try more suggestions. Yeah. Most of the parents, sorry, and maybe even teachers, right? You can receive suggestions, like maybe you should work on this. Suggestions or prompts would be a good word. To work on. So like they're not told that they have a major problem, but just things that they could probably work on, but the parent knows what the true issue is. You can say maybe the teacher talks with them, parent talks with them. And therapist talks with them separately. Maybe about specific goals. Does that make sense? Okay. So now we move on to part 2, developing and documenting. All this is all of part 1. Part 1 here. They can talk about interviews, question types and methods is listed here, like things for the parent and student to do. And then I put the assessment items that you would need, the task, micro macro level skills, and then helping the sport at the master level. And then it happens with that, then how the results will be reported. Now we're on part 2 of this part, which is development document. Oh yeah, and did you see Dr. Machuska's email? Yeah, I'll have to stop at about. We'll stop at about 12:25. I'm gonna try and keep it going a little bit longer. Because my meeting meetings until like 12:35. Okay. And the actual assessment items. So now we have to actually write out the checklist.
Yeah.
Okay. This will be a little bit more difficult because I have to find some checklists. Okay. So for the first one, we'll do the mental health checklist, depression checklist, inventory or whatever it's called. Yeah. Inventory first. Let me see if I can find an example. I've seen them a lot. Children's depression inventory. Self-report short form. I don't want to buy one. See that sort of thing. Okay, this one's the parent one. Okay, evaluate scale on the emotional problems, functional problems, negative mood, negative self-esteem, ineffectiveness, interpersonal problems. I have a sinus infection right now. I'm like, oh. I'm taking antibiotics. I just feel so bad. Yeah, so I can say the children's inventory. Asked about emotional problems, emotional and functional. Functional means like how much it affects you in your day-to-day life. Mhm. Negative mood, negative self-esteem, ineffectiveness, interpersonal problems. That means like in between people. Okay, so like one example of this could be like how often do you get distracted when working on an assignment? Okay, here we go. Okay, that's not nice. Something I found like this. Emotions like I don't have any friends, or I don't have fun at school, or I feel alone all the time. Things like that. So they would just have to read it. Fun school. Feel alone all the time. I do very badly in subjects I used to be good in. So this is a self-report statement assessment. Okay, I should include that. Let me write it out. So yeah, I don't have friends. I don't have any fun at school. One long time. I do very badly in subjects I used to be good in. I've pushed myself to do my homework, things like
Mhm.
that. Okay, so it's basically for the actual assessment items. That's just the survey part. Now we have to come up with a checklist. Yeah, the checklist, it would be weekly goals, right? Or do you think weekly or do you think daily? Like weekly would be easier for kids, but daily might be pushing it. But
I think maybe it depends, like it changes
yeah,
either
from
like
weekly to daily.
yeah, those
Yeah.
kind of options.
Well, like, yeah, okay, weekly or daily, depending on progress, right?
Yes.
Maybe they start out with weekly and then they move to daily.
Mm.
Checklist questions would be like, talk to one person today. They would just check that off. You know, accomplished. Okay, and then it would be repeated for everything.
Yes.
You could also say, write one paragraph in the journal. Do one part of an assignment or one part or section of an assignment. A homework assignment. Have a conversation with one of your parents, with a parent or friend. Pretty much we've got you for that. That's really assessment items. Those are the biggest things. And then I would say like it would be rated by how much they get done. They accomplish these tasks in a week. And then we can talk about student instructions, which is the last part here.
Yes.
Okay. So for student instructions, they need to try the weekly goals. if not, can be pushed back or to have something else, right?
Mhm.
Something else. Document your feelings, thoughts in the journal. Maybe ask their teachers for help. Maybe they can enroll in after-school programs or tutoring. Uh, anything else? I think we covered it. Or did you have any questions?
I think so. Is that for the fourth part? That that's the
Yeah, we're gonna go more deeper into it. Like for this part, we're just basically just doing the basics of it. So you can just like explain like what kind of things you're going to be doing and doing like the scoring, but you don't need to go too deep into detail of it yet. So later. But it's a start towards that. Like for example, the questions about emotional, like the self-report statement assessments, you can include that in part 4 later. Maybe you can just say like what it is, like self-report statement about emotional, like negative moods, functional stuff there, and then just hold off on like all the question examples and stuff until next time for the next part. But I just wanted to give you an idea of what I was talking about, so that way you knew like, so this is what we're going to be looking at. You could just definitely mention like the mental health, depression inventory, the checklist, asking about the, the progress that they're making, things like that. It shouldn't be too much. And then anything else? The rest of the stuff should be okay, but the assessment part we're gonna delve more into for the next part.
yes. Okay.
Anything else you want to ask about? Or do you think it's pretty easy, understandable?
I think that's okay.
Yeah. Is there anything else you were just confused about or just wanted to ask me? Like how it says for part 4, the creation of an assessment administration plan, which is going to be stuff that the school is going to do with the IEP, what teachers are going to do for the students, parents, and then we'll go into the therapist, what the therapist does for the students.
Yeah.
For now. Okay. Yeah. And then it'll also help get some feedback too, and if there's anything else that they're looking for in particular. Um, yeah, good to see you. And then just remember, you don't have to get to like where everything where the quotes are. Just the ideas. That might have forgotten, you know, maybe with how's your other classes going?
For the other one, I still need to do the journal.
Oh, okay.
The professor today said that MEL say that because I missed the B, C, and D, E,
Oh,
so like she's still giving me points for the D and E,
okay.
but the B and C I think it's been too many weeks and stuff, so she not giving me points for those.
Oh,
Yeah, so it costs 16% of the final grade.
ooh, yeah.
So I need to do those. I just for those I'm kind of struggling with just really finding resources
Yeah.
and really the time to go kind of practice, but not really practice, but
Yeah.
with this stuff, yeah, that's for that one.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah. And then for that one, that assignment is just to like write what I so-called learned for that week,
Mhm.
and then make a connection with either the chapter or yeah, a chapter or assignment we did, or just a topic.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Okay.
And I missed the recent one that was due this yesterday.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just right now it's just a day late for that one. For that one, yeah.
Okay. That's not too bad.
And then the other one, the D was due last Monday, so it's like almost like a whole week late for that one.
Oh,
She said she's gonna give me partial
okay,
points
that's
for them.
something. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. So I'll probably end up doing a few minutes. And do a caption review for the capstone class. See if I can get into it. See if there's fun.
No, it's an interview.
Yeah, it's cool. Because if the Monday we don't have a capstone,
Mhm.
like the final project.
Oh, mhm.
So we can either do internship, which is what I'm
Training.
to do, yeah, or independent studies, or a seminar, and I'm like, I'm not concerned with learning, so what's it today? Maybe it depends on what I'm doing next semester.
Mm.
I heard it was going back up this weekend.
Mm.
It was too cold.